Welcome to episode number 12 of Faking It. I'm your host, Liz Hodson. This episode, I'm going to interview radio host Seanna Jefferson, and we're going to talk about her climb from being an intern at Toronto's 102.1 The Edge to becoming a drive host at Calgary's X92.9. If you're just joining us, Faking It is a podcast based on the notion that we're all just getting through life, experience by experience, faking it till we make it. Here we go. Okay, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
So I have my guest here, Miss Seanna Jefferson.
Hello.
And you are, actually tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
I do the drive show on X92.9, which is an alternative radio station.
Right on.
In Calgary.
Cool, Calgary.
In Calgary.
Oh, good old Calgary. And that's 92.9 The X. Is that what you guys call yourselves?
X92.9, technically, if we're getting the jargon down. I know.
Okay.
It's very specific, apparently. You know,
It
you
is.
can't mess that up.
You don't want to mess it up. That's right. You definitely can't do that.
The basics of radio 101. Get your damn call letters right.
Is it X? Does X come before or after? We're not sure. Oh, okay. X92.9. Cool. That's awesome. And so I know you from just childhood, basically, but also we hung out together in Toronto for a bit, and we're good old friends. So I want to kind of go through your very interesting history. I think you're totally an inspiring person to me for like setting out to like go for something, and it's always really cool to watch you fly because you do such a great job. So let's just jump right into it. How did you get into to radio, I guess? Like, where'd that start?
Well, I started in Toronto. I decided to go to university for the least university-like program I could come up with because my parents really wanted me to do the whole university thing because I guess they did. I don't know. I felt a little bit obligated. So I was like, well, I don't want to go to university for like English. Like, what the hell do I want to do? And I found this radio and television arts program. I was like, well, you know what? That looks interesting. So got into that. And then I thought I was going to do the TV side of things.
Right.
Just because I had been volunteering at a TV station to try and kind of get into the program and all that. And then I got an opportunity to be an intern at a radio station in Toronto called The Edge. And it was just
The
like
Edge.
right?
We love The Edge.
Good old Edge.
Good old Edge, man. Back in the day, still listening to it. Love The Edge. Love that you were on it. Represent, you know?
Yeah. Well, it started as like an unpaid internship where you basically handed out stickers out front of venues. And I was like, well, this is a good way to kind of rule out radio 100%.
Yeah, to kind of like test out the waters, you mean? Like to see if you actually liked it?
That's it.
Cool.
Before I like decided to dive both, you know, head first, I guess would be the saying, head first.
Head and feet.
Head and feet. Decide to fully dive, okay, into TV. I just wanted to try out radio. And then the minute I like walked into the building, just the atmosphere was awesome. It was super laid back, and our PD at the time is Alan Cross, who still does the ongoing history of new music, and he does that.
Fantastic show.
Oh yeah.
So good.
He was the PD at the time, and I remember like walking into his office, and he was like so welcoming. He's like, "Shauna, come in here." He has this amazing view of Toronto. Shauna, come on in. He doesn't actually talk.
He sounds nothing like that, but I love that rendition of it. It's just hilarious.
Very accurate, I thought. And he was wearing like ripped jeans and a dirty T-shirt, and everybody was just so laid back like that. And I was just like, this is what I want to do.
I want to work for your dirty T-shirt and your ripped jeans.
That's it. I was like, this is way more me. It's way more laid back than TV, and everybody seems awesome. And then I kind of just was like, okay, well, let's try and get paid now to do something along the lines of radio. And I didn't care what I did. And then a couple months after doing the free internship, an opportunity came up as like a part-time promo assistant. And that was actually paid, which is a step up, of course. And
what's a promo assistant? What kind of things would you been doing? Like, what was your step up?
We designed like proposals. So if a client came to us and wanted to advertise with the station, we designed the proposals for them. The coolest thing, the thing that I loved doing was doing web art kind of stuff. So I used to design actually some of the X-Fest passes I helped design, which was pretty cool because everybody got these lanyards with this design that I did.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was all kinds of stuff like that. And then I did that. And then from there, started board opping, which is where I just volunteered to press some buttons at the studio when some of the DJs were live from the clubs of Toronto, like the Phoenix and places like that. And then when I did that, there was like a 1 hour window on Saturday nights between 2 and 3 a.m. where there was no DJ on, but I was still in the studio and I was kind of waiting for the one DJ who was traveling from out of town. So I convinced myself to ask the boss at the time if I could just like do talkovers on the air for that hour, because I was like, well, I guess I could try to ask.
Yeah, did you kind of just think like, did you have that confidence in yourself, or were you
No,
just trying to
no,
put
no.
it out there to see,
I was petrified.
like you
but-
thought that it would be a good thing to just, why not? Why not? Is that sort of what
Oh yeah,
happened?
it was like, look, I have to ask, because if I don't ask, I feel like I'm gonna regret it. So I was like, I'm sure the answer is gonna be no, and I totally understand, but I do have to ask. So I finally gained up the courage after like 3 days of going, should I do this? No, I shouldn't do this. Should I do this? No, I shouldn't do this. And
the negotiation period.
oh yeah, when you go through your mind of all the doubts and you don't want to be let down, but you know that it's probably not something that you can do, especially in what we call a major market like Toronto is. It's one of the biggest markets in
Huge.
Canada, obviously. So yeah, finally did. And then I was just like, hey, so here's like my idea. And he was just like, sure. I was like, that's it? Like, sure?
That was it.
I mean, really?
Sure.
Yeah. So
What was your idea exactly?
Well, I just said, look, like there's no DJs on at this time, and we pride ourselves on being a 24-hour radio station.
Right.
So not having a DJ in that hour is a little bit crazy, and I'm in the studio anyway. I was just like, and what kind of damage can I really do between 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning? Like, I mean, that's the least listened to time probably. Come on, just give it to me. So, yeah, he agreed, and then from there, when some of the overnight DJs would go away on holidays and that sort of thing, then I was asked to do a 6-hour show.
Whoa,
And that
that's
was
a bit of a
terrifying.
jump.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
that's a
yeah.
huge jump.
Yeah, very, very much so. But that was from like midnight to 6 a.m. Again, like it's listened to, especially in Toronto, but of all the shifts, kind of the less listened to or the less high profile. Yeah, and then I just like used all that time I had in the studio to make demos, and then decided that it would be fun to just try and send these demos out and see what kind of response I got. And yeah, I somehow
Truly working up. That's like a true, like you climbed that ladder and in a really impressive amount of time.
I don't know how. And that's why
You went for it. I think that's like something is that you just kind of like, you just went for it. Like, I don't know what else to stock that up to.
I know I had the mentality of like, what do I have to lose? I was kind of, when I started
Exactly.
sending my demo out, it was nearing my time in university, and I'd heard, of course, and you hear time and time again in radio, it's like, well, it's going to take you a long time to get a job, so just
Yeah.
be patient and just wait it out, and hopefully you can make some contacts, and eventually it might happen for you. And so that was kind of my mentality, and I was just like, well, there's no harm in sending my demo out and getting feedback in the meantime,
Absolutely.
So I did that, and I don't know. I guess somehow I got the attention of some people in Edmonton, and
Right. And you headed out there initially, like right off the bat, or is this where the macaroni truck fits in your history?
This is where the macaroni truck.
Let's hear about the macaroni truck. Little thing called a macaroni truck.
Okay, well, I just as I graduated university decided that I should take a job. Well, again, I'm waiting for a radio job if that ever happened, and I got this opportunity to travel with YTV across the country in a macaroni truck.
And what is a macaroni truck?
It's a pickup truck that was decorated fully in Kraft Dinner macaroni.
Like pictures or like real noodles?
Luckily, not real noodles. I don't think that would travel well across the country.
No, I think we experience a lot of weather. So,
yeah,
I mean,
I think it would probably expand and actually at some point probably get baked, and then you'd have
Yeah.
big macaroni chunks falling
Yeah.
from your truck. But it was like one of those what do you call it, stickers, right? Where you just like wrap the truck, I guess, full of this ridiculous macaroni. So yeah, I traveled around in that for about 3 months before I got the call from Edmonton.
and what was that like? Did you enjoy that time? Was that sort of like kick-ass, or like what kind of adventure was that like?
It was awesome. I got to see parts of Canada that I never thought I'd see, and I kind of used it as a way to like every time we stopped in a new city, knowing in radio that I can't choose where I go. I was like, well, now I'll get to see some parts of the country that I may actually get a radio offer in. And then I kind of decided the places that I would like to live or maybe not want to live so much. And then I happened to actually, when I got the call from Edmonton, be in Edmonton with YTV. So it was perfect because, of course, the boss was
Stars
like,
align.
yeah. Well, it was just like, my boss was like, yeah, well, yeah, if you are here at some point. And I was like, well, I happen to be in Edmonton.
Come
so
join
I
me
can
at my
meet
macaroni
you.
truck. Yeah.
So I showed up in my awesome macaroni truck with my ridiculous YTV sweater
Get up.
on that had Snowflake, which was my nickname at the time, on
Oh, it's priceless, Seanna. It's
the
priceless.
side of my sweater. And I'm pretty sure my PD at the time was like, I think I've made a huge mistake. Like, what have I
You're
done?
hired.
So yeah, but no, I met the people or a couple of the people anyway in Edmonton because we were launching a new station. So they didn't even have furniture when I showed up to meet them.
So like a brand spanking new kind of situation.
Brand new, yeah, which was so cool.
Yeah, you really carving out some territory with a new place. That's awesome.
Well, and we got to see it was all brand new equipment, of course, and we got to see how it kind of all came to fruition, which
cool, like all put together. Yeah,
is pretty rare. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not very often that a new station kind of comes into a city. So to be a part of that and to kind of witness all the ins and outs and what happens to get a station launched is pretty cool. Like we actually got to the first day the station was on the air, we all crowded around the radio, and the frequency at the time, which was 95.7, went from fuzz to us hearing the music that we were putting on that frequency, you know?
right.
So we heard that, and it was pretty awesome because you just hear all of a sudden, yeah, it goes from like to music, and you're like, wow.
Oh wow,
We
it's
just
like
got
you're
to-
actually like planting a flag. Like you're actually like territory. Like boom, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like, is this thing on? Hello? Yeah.
Oh.
And then, yeah, it was crazy.
yeah. That's a pretty unique experience. I bet. Like a lot of people probably just kind of like fly literally to another program or another like station. That's a really awesome experience to kind of build it.
Yeah. No, it was very cool. Unfortunately, we also got to see the station flip 7 months later into a different format.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, well, I guess it's radio stuff. But it was a good business decision at the time to flip that station
Right.
to a light station because the light format in the city had flipped to something else. And light formats are kind of known as the good, kind of almost guaranteed money station because that's the one that dentist office put on, and it's not.
Oh, is it sort of more
offensive.
like a satellite radio type thing that's
Well-
not so many people talking or like personalities?
There's
like,
more there's still personalities. It's just one of those like you're appealing to older women more. So
Oh, okay,
you're
that
not going to talk
demographic.
about, you're not going to rub people the wrong way. You're not going to talk about controversial things. You're going to play music
Right.
that kind of is palatable for everybody.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, they flipped, and then that's when
that happens, I guess. That's pretty frequent. Is it not in the radio world? Like,
it's frequent. It's not really frequent. But yeah, it happens, and it's always just, of course, whatever the business feels is going to make them the most money is what they're going for, right? It's a business essentially. So, yeah, they just thought that was a good business choice for them, which is cool. And I and a lot of the DJs unfortunately lose your job when a station flips formats because I was like 21 or 22 at the time, and so I can't really relate to 40-year-old women as much as somebody who's a little bit older and has kids like they do and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So the station though, or the company, was nice enough to have an offer on the table when I lost my job for Regina. And they were basically like, okay, well, we have an offer here. Like, we lose your job, which sucks, but we actually have an offer and you can start in 2 weeks. And you're doing the same show that you did here in Edmonton, but just in Regina.
wow.
So-
And what did you ever think that you'd like be working in Regina? Like, it's kind of a
No.
yeah. That's a bit of an odd. I mean, obviously everywhere has radio, so it makes sense that you could just be sent anywhere. But really interesting. I don't see Regina as your kind of place.
Yeah, well, I at the time wasn't overly thrilled, obviously, especially
But then you
'cause-
obviously get to know people, of course. Everybody's probably really nice.
Well, that's it. Like, Regina is the place where I think I met the nicest people and made the closest friends, which
Oh,
you'd never
great.
think of. But that's the thing is, it's so funny because everybody has these negative views of places in Canada, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's just stereotypes or
There's always
judgments or
stereotypes,
whatever.
right? Like Alberta, oh, everybody has a pickup truck and is
Cowboy
hick,
hats.
and Regina, it's like, oh my God, Regina, really? Like the place that
Yeah.
rhymes with fun? Come on. But yeah, like you can't, especially in radio, you certainly cannot have those predispositions or these stereotypes in your head when you go there, because you're not going to have fun. So,
yeah, and people make it anyways. I mean, like, who cares if they're not known for like some big bustling city? Like, people still are people. You find greatness in a lot of different areas.
You start to realize that the people you meet are the most important thing,
Right.
above anything else in a city.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that, you know, you make memories with and you have fun with and you hang out with, and that's the most important, right? It's not
Yeah, you make
the
it what you make it
scenery
worth.
or,
Yeah.
you know, the whatever. Oh well, we have 28,000 shows in a year. Well, that's cool and all, but again, if the people are jerks, then you don't have
Then who
anybody to really
cares?
go to those shows with, right?
Yeah,
So
good point.
yeah, so
Thousands of shows not to go with anybody fun. That's not cool.
that's exactly it.
So what kind of station was you said it moved sort of like into it? Was that still an alternative? That's kind of like your milieu, like where you work in?
When I moved to Regina, you mean?
Yeah.
No, that was they call it active rock.
Oh, okay. What does that exactly mean
That
for the
is
non?
like we play AC/DC, and it's a bit harder.
Okay.
So you play the older stuff, yeah, like, you know, Ozzy Osbourne, and then you'll play like Glorious Sons and those newer bands that they have this. They're kind of just determined as active rock, but
Right.
yeah. So it's a little bit harder and a little bit older than what the station I'm in now. So
Right.
that was an
You're
experience because
yeah.
I'm not a huge like AC/DC fan. I have to
or
admit.
like really classic kind of rock fan.
Yeah, I'm definitely an alternative rock fan. So the format I'm working in now is way more what I love to listen to on my spare time. So it's always interesting to like work at a station where the songs you play, you can kind of take it or leave it. You're just like, oh, this is not
This is
something that I would have
something.
on my own iPad. But
Yeah.
my favorite, I think, was getting to backsell a Nickelback song where it's like, I like the pants around your feet. And I'm not a huge Nickelback
Not into
fan.
Nickelback, eh?
Not a huge. I'm sorry. I mean,
You're not like
I
everyone. You're not
completely
just
respect
so
them musically. Okay, it's just it's
They
not
make
on
music.
my iPad.
It's
So
not in my my library.
no.
No, pants around your feet. It's a catchy lyric. I mean,
Oh God, they are catchy. Like, they are.
yeah, there's a certain, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
well, so what is your move to the current station that you're at now? What did that look like? Like, what's that? Again, another jump from Regina to the X. What was that like?
Well, I actually went from Regina back to Edmonton.
Right.
First, which was another active rock station. So it was like a similar format to Regina, but Edmonton, of course, is a bigger market. So the Bear, as they're called in Edmonton, I was talking to them, and it was just a good move for me to obviously get back into a bigger market. And the Bear is a huge like flagship rock station in Canada. So that was awesome. And I was there for about 6 months, and then I got the call from Calgary. From X to come out to Calgary, and this was kind of my dream station. So
Why is that? Why is it dream station?
Well, I grew up with an aunt here, and I love snowboarding, and so
Yeah,
as a kid I
you
used to
are
come
a
out
kick-ass
here.
snowboarder.
Yeah, and so I used to come out here and snowboard all the time, and then X again is the music that I love, and it's just these opportunities don't come up that much, so I kind of had to take it. You know, I was like, I'm going to regret this if I don't take it. I felt terrible leaving the Bear in such short a time because that's not ideal. Like leaving the station after 6 months is not exactly a good
The best
career
thing, yeah.
move. But I couldn't pass it up. I just couldn't possibly pass up being at X. So yeah.
And now that was like, did you get sort of one of those gut feelings where you just knew as soon as you heard that it was up that you're just like, I'm going?
Yeah. Well, no, it was tough. I deliberated for a few days, and then when I finally even said I was going, even still, it was tough because, then I was still I had to be at the Bear for another 3 months because I had a 3-month out in my contract. So,
Right.
then I had to show up at the Bear every day, and of course talk to those people, and a lot of people there were kind of like, why are you doing this? Like, why don't stay here? And so they were kind of convincing me the other way to stay, and then I was always like, did I make the right decision? And It's a pain in
Getting
the
pulled,
ass.
getting pulled
All
every
of
which
that
way.
is a pain in the ass. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the funnest part of the job, trying to kind of
No.
manage companies and decide
Yeah,
what's best for you. So
Now, were you doing your own show by yourself out in where you were before before the
at the
when you were
Bear.
at the Bear? Yeah, were you
Yeah.
doing your own show?
Yeah, I've done a solo show right up until just recently. The last
Cool.
year, I've joined a team, so it's my co-host Beckler and I now on a show together, which is pretty exciting.
Nice. What's that like? Like, what was the change from being a solo host all the way kind of through most of your career bouncing around, but like, and then getting this boom, like, you know how it is. You add somebody into a group, you add somebody into like a one on, a duo. It can always be hit or miss, right? So what was that like, the change?
It was awesome, but scary to do it without really knowing how it was going to turn out. Just because Beckler and I have, of course, beforehand never done a show together.
Yeah.
It was our boss who kind of saw the vision of us being in a show together. And I remember when my boss was like, have you ever thought of being a co-host? Have you ever thought of co-hosting? And I was just kind of like, well, I have, obviously. Like, that's a lot of radio people are co-hosts. But I was just like, what if it doesn't work? I was like, I don't want to get fired if this doesn't work.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of awkwardness that could end up is like take one or the other, or like what happens. There's a lot
exactly.
of like
it's always
gray
just
area.
scary, right? You don't, especially because again, I'm at a station that I love, so it's just a scary thought altogether.
Yeah, big leap.
But then I was like, I have to try this. Like I have to. So then it worked out. Of course, then we like kind of got together, and my co-host and I had lunch together, and the boss kind of came and was there. It was a little bit awkward because the boss is essentially there to see how your rapport is as a duo.
Oh man,
So
it's like somebody sitting in on a blind date.
That's exactly what it was like. It
That's
was
so
just like,
weird.
and you don't know what he's looking for, or you just
Yeah.
kind of talk, and you're like, I don't know what he's feeling about this. Like, does
And you're like, I think it's going well, but he doesn't look
you have
so
no idea.
pleased.
Like, I didn't know, and I was kind of, again after that, if it didn't go well, then I was just gonna go back to doing the show by myself. So it wasn't a whole lot of pressure. Essentially, it was
Okay.
just a very awkward scenario. It was
Yeah,
just
that's
like,
quite odd.
yeah, like, hey, you're just here kind of like a fly on the wall, but you're sitting right beside us. Like you're not being very discreet.
No, you're
So-
calculating a lot of stuff here.
Exactly. Yeah. But
So,
he,
so was Beckler somebody who worked at the radio station? Was he already at the X, or is it like somebody they brought in externally?
they brought him in externally. So he initially got hired to do the drive show first when I was still doing middays.
Okay.
And then that's when the whole idea of a co-hosted drive show kind of came to fruition, where the boss was talking to Beckler about that. And then that's when my boss started asking me. And there's like Christian, who is my boss, is a genius, and he always has like 98,000 pawns being put in place all the time.
So
which
he's
is-
like constantly just like calculating and
oh yeah,
strate-
so
like
as
strategizing.
he's talking to Beckler and thinking if he wants a co-host show, he's talking to me, and I have
Yeah.
no idea that there's even that opportunity, and I didn't even know why he was asking me
Yeah.
about co-hosting. And then all of a sudden things just started to line up, and I'm like, oh, you're a genius. That's all
You're
that's
a big
happening.
genius right
You are.
there.
I call him the House of Cards man. Like he just
Oh, I was just thinking that. I was like, that sounds like something Frank Underwood would do. He's playing the game. He's back
is.
channel. He's doing the thing.
Oh,
Except
yeah.
nobody dies.
He's 40
which is a
steps
good
ahead of
thing.
everybody, always. It's always very impressive to watch him go, because everything he asks you or does is calculated, like there's a reason. It's quite entertaining.
That's brilliant. That's great to have a leader like that. Like,
Oh my
what a
God.
awesome leader. Like, that sounds great.
Oh yeah. No, he's a great person it's just impressive to watch him. Like he's just incredible. So yeah, it's cool to have
that's
a guy
awesome.
like that to kind of watch and be like, wow, this is impressive, man.
Yeah, he's above it. He's a god. I get it. He's
Yeah.
just controlling it all.
Basically.
That's awesome. So, like, for your show that you're doing, you're calling it a drive show. So, for some people who might not know, what does that entail exactly? Is it a long show? Is it during a certain time in the day?
Yeah, it's 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday.
Oh, that's a great time slot.
Yeah, it's good because I get to sleep in the morning, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's bonus, especially because you're probably getting into like the scene and stuff and going to see all the people. Like a radio station like the X is going to host a lot of like rock shows, so you get to go to those, which
That's
is
it.
great.
It's also known as the worst shift for people who might like to drink because
Oh.
they'll go out all night. I've actually somehow with this shift I'm going out less at night for some reason. I don't know why. It's
No.
good for me as a person, you know,
Yeah,
not going out and drinking every night.
Yep.
But it's funny because I think a lot of people who take on a drive show do the opposite, where it's like, oh, I can drink all night. I don't have to be up till like 1, you know? Like,
Yeah, that's rough. That's the yeah. It takes a toll, I bet.
yeah, it's funny though because being on the air is mentally exhausting, and people don't really understand that, I don't think. And so when I say, oh yeah, I have a 5-hour shift, and they're all like, what the hell? Good, like that's so awesome. It's only 5 hours, but you get off the air and you're so just drained.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean
just
5
your
hours.
brain
That's a bit
hurts,
different.
actually.
Yeah,
Because
like you're
constantly,
juggling
like,
a lot.
oh yeah, well that's it. Like you put one break on the air, and then the minute that you turn your mics off after that break, you're already thinking about the next thing you're going to talk about. You know, you're already putting the next thing in motion, and it just does that. You do that the whole shift, so your brain hurts after. Really.
Yeah, you got to be precise. I mean, people in an 8-hour day are going to have tons of downtime. I mean, most average people. But
Yeah.
I think if you're on 5 hours and you're constantly just probably still have a bit of butterflies going on in your stomach just to make sure you don't flub up or whatever.
That's it.
And yeah, and I bet it's nice to have a co-host in another way too. Is it kind of better working that kind of long time and then having someone to play off of it if something ends up flubbing up as opposed to a solo show? Is that kind of a better
Yes.
incentive?
Yeah, it seems like there's less pressure because you have somebody to bounce things off of. And when you're like preparing the show and you're trying to think of what you can talk about, it's kind of like I'll throw something out to Beckler, and if he doesn't have a response to it, it's like, okay, well we don't really have much to say about that, so move on to the next thing. Then you'll say something, and all of a sudden you and him and I are just going back and forth and making jokes about it, and it's like, oh, this will be good on the air then because we both have lots to say, and it's kind of entertaining, and we found a different angle on how to present this.
Yeah, like a natural rapport, sort of.
That's it, yeah. And then same for him. Like he'll come up with something, and exact same thing. We just kind of bounce off, and it just gives you that extra layer of editing, almost. So it helps. It definitely helps. And then like let's say on the air you draw a blank someday or something, you've got somebody to kind of take the reins and cover for you, and vice versa, right? So
yeah, that's definitely helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
So what what is it like being the face of something like this? I imagine, you're known by people. You probably got some fans going on there. You're basically just like a social figure. So what's that like for you?
It's nice because you have more anonymity than, let's say, TV personalities.
Right. Yeah. Your voice, and it's not as obvious.
Yeah, and a ton of people don't look you up on social media, which is crazy. A lot of people do. Don't get me wrong, but you still have a lot of people who do just recognize you through your voice, and they kind of form a picture of what they think you look like. So you could be out.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah, so you could be literally sitting next to somebody who listens to you, and you just don't fit that picture of what they think you look like.
Of course.
And it's always shocking because the odd times, I actually had one time somebody come up to me when I was working in Regina, and it was a girl, and she comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, you're Seanna?" I was just like, "Yeah." Why? And she's like, "Oh, I just thought you'd look different."
You're like, well, what does that mean?
I'm just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I should definitely apologize for this. What the hell?
I don't know what to say. I mean, she was just like, "Oh, I thought you'd have dark hair and would be bigger."
Oh, because maybe just because you have a lower voice or like a very full voice.
Yes, I get that a lot.
Yeah, you definitely have
the
like
picture
that.
People think I look like that.
Yeah, like a sultry voice. So it's definitely not like a high pitch, like blonde,
so
blue hair,
I'm
blue-eyed
blonde,
lady.
Exactly. So then they see me and they're like, "Oh, you're blonde and blue-eyed, and you're not a bigger girl." So I'm like,
that's so strange,
I'm sorry. Like I
apologize. I really like to snowboard. I don't know what to do.
Match? Like,
I'm fit.
Yeah, no,
I apologize.
It's pretty funny. It is, but it's fun though. It is fun to talk to people and kind of hear what they pictured, or how you're different than what they thought. I don't know. It's funny. Yeah.
So what's it like besides sort of weirdos thinking that you should look differently, fan wise, is it kind of cool to be? I know that I've gone to like radio events before. Like there's Edge Fest. There's all those things that are part of that community. Do you find it really kind of cool to go out to those things and be like at the center of those concerts and those events and stuff?
Yeah, I love it. I love talking to people. But it's funny because I feel like I'm a little bit different than other radio people that way. Because some people are pretty quiet and are more introverted. So when it comes to actually meeting listeners and that sort of thing, then they get a little bit uncomfortable. Whereas for me, I love it. Like when you hear somebody that you know who's like, "Oh, I love your show," or "You were talking about this yesterday," and they walk up to you as if they know you, it's very cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. What a very interesting experience because you've never had like a face to face with this person.
No,
Nor are you really like aware that anybody would know what you looked like or anything like that because you're not a TV personality, which is something you'd prepare yourself for if you're like on TV. But
yeah.
that's a very interesting experience, and I think that you're such a social and like open person that it's probably refreshing because it's if you put yourself out there to be like, oh, are you this favorite radio host of mine? And the person's like, don't talk to me. It's like, oh shit, like it's probably nice for you to be like that.
When people are not the same on the air as they are off, then I think it poses a bit of a problem when you go out to meet people. Because if you on the air act like you're this super personable, super friendly, outgoing person, and then you go out and you don't want to talk to anybody, and you're not like that at all, then you really kind of are destroying that image, or you're going to put a bad taste in that person's mouth. Whereas for me, I'm the exact same on the air and off the air. So what you hear on the air is what you're going to get if you see me in person, which I think is better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think back in the old radio days, then it was, I think there was a little more to people having kind of different personalities on the air. It was a little more, I don't know.
Is it like you feel maybe some people play a character?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I think people do. I think a lot of people are getting away from that now, though. But I think back in the day, I think there was more characters on the air. More people, and you're always kind of an extreme version of yourself because for things to kind of carry over the air, you have to be a little more upbeat in the way you deliver them, obviously. But yeah, no, I'm pretty similar. Like the things I talk about on the air are certainly not made up. It's things that actually did happen to me and opinions that I actually do have. So
yeah, well, I think that's incredibly important, and it's to be unique in that way too. I'm sure other people do that, but I think that if you are putting that out, there's a genuine nature to that people are going to pick up on, right? They're not going to think like, oh, you're just being kind of fluff or whatever.
Well, the funniest thing is the most common place for me to meet listeners is in the lineup for a washroom at a show.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Or at a Flames game. And it's hilarious. Like, that is honestly where I've met
a Flames
90%
game. You can't be at Flames game. You're a Torontonian. What are you doing?
I know. I'm sorry, but
it's okay. We still love
we
you.
have a friggin' NHL team here that I have to enjoy.
You gotta support. As long as they're Canadian, I'm cool with it. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, it's hilarious because I think it's I think the reasoning, because I've always laughed at that, and I'm like, why the hell would that be? And I was like, it must be because that's when people have had a couple drinks. They might be a little more loose.
Yep.
And you're kind of one-on-one versus, let's say, I'm out with a bunch of friends, and it might be a little more intimidating to approach me that way. Whereas if I'm waiting in line by myself, I think a lot of people feel that, they can talk to me. But it's funny because it's like, no matter what, I will happily talk to you. I would never, ever, if somebody tries to say hi, be like, excuse me, don't you see I'm with friends? Like,
don't talk to me. I'm vulnerable. I'm in a bathroom line.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Like, no, it is pretty funny, though. I always laugh about that. I'm like, oh, of course, I'm in the washroom lineup. I will meet somebody who listens to me right now.
I think that maybe what I'm hearing is you need to pitch a new segment on your show, which is like Seanna in the bathroom line.
I've thought about that. That's actually been in my thoughts as something to do because it is very entertaining. And of course, bathroom chatter, always entertaining. You're always going to hear some very interesting things when you're in the washroom.
Yep. So. And in the line for the bathroom, totally. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's Calgary like? What's the scene like up there?
It's awesome. I love it. People here are super outdoor oriented, of course, because we have the mountains on our back door. So it's pretty cool to see everybody that likes to be active and get out. And the music scene's really good. There's lots going on here. Of course, not quite as much as Toronto, but that's because the population is not the size of Toronto. So, I mean, that's normal.
That's all right, though. I mean, Toronto's too fast-paced.
Yeah. No, that's why Calgary's awesome, because it's a big city, but it still feels kind of small, as weird as that sounds. It's pretty sprawled out. The city has a lot of different, subdivisions that are nice and sprawled, which is good because there's lots of, green space and lots of parks. And no, I love it.
Yeah, and like you say, the mountains are right there. So I bet you do a ton of snowboarding, and you're probably loving that.
Oh, yeah. Well, like Banff is an hour from Calgary. And
oh, man.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's glorious. It's
Totally.
the perfect combination, so.
That's yeah, it's a place for you, I think. Definitely pop in. There's music, there's snowboarding. It's like all the things in one for you.
That's exactly it. Yeah. It's a perfect little mixture of all the things I like to do,
Oh yeah.
We also all talk like this in Calgary.
Oh, apparently, yeah. Everybody does that. Yeah. Waiting for. You're like, oh God, no, that's not what I meant.
Well, yeah, everybody in Canada talks like this, eh? Don't you know?
Yeah. This is a Fargo show or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what are like the big goals coming up for your career? With something that's like radio and you're moving around a lot, are you kind of hoping to just like stay planted and maybe make that daytime host or the morning host or whatever like that coveted position is? Like, what are your next goals?
I don't know. I mean, it would absolutely be nice to do a morning show someday, because that is, of course, the pinnacle show, I guess, kind of on the hierarchy of shifts for radio.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, because it's gonna be tough to move next time, I think.
Because you're kind of planting, like you're putting in roots, or
yeah. Well, I just really like it here, so having to move to a smaller market, for example, to do a morning show would be a tough move.
Yeah.
The money would probably be more though, so you kind of go, well, is it worth it? And then if you do that move, then maybe you'll wind up back in a major market, perhaps maybe someday back in Calgary on
yeah, you really never
radio.
know.
I mean, that would be nice. But I am trying to really just like take a step back and relax here and enjoy this for a little bit and not kind of be constantly thinking of that next step. Cause
yeah, you got to take it in. You got to live in it.
Yeah, and it's easy, I think, especially when you have a bit of momentum going on, to constantly be looking for what's next. And I think it's kind of, you forget to slow down and stop and smell the roses every once in a while. So.
Yeah, because you can be all for taking chances, and I know that you're really great at adapting. Like, you're somebody who I've always been like in awe of. Like, wow, like Seanna just adapts. Like, she just gets in there and she just learns it, and that's really cool. But there is something to be said, I think, as well as we grow up. Maybe we realize, actually setting down some like, deep roots and admitting the things that we really like, or creature comforts and stuff like that, and just like accepting it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Being okay with that.
And as everybody says, money's not everything. So
absolutely.
As much as it's like, well, yeah, morning show would give me more money. That's not the be all end all, essentially. So it's like, okay, hold on. You have to make the right move, not just the more money move. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. I thank you so much for doing what you're doing. And if everybody wants to listen to the X, I guess you guys probably have like an app or like online or whatever they'd listen to here in Toronto.
X92.9. If you'll find we have all of the social medias, you have to be up on the social medias these days.
All of the medias.
All of them, except we don't have Snapchat. But maybe
not yet.
We'll work on
I've downloaded that many times, and I have to admit, I do not know what the hell's going on there.
I've just started working on Snapchat.
Oh man,
I just got it, and I'm starting to embrace it, and I'm starting to enjoy it. So there you go. That's the next one. You always kind of have to be on top of what the latest one of those is, and eventually get on it. So I'm working on that.
Well, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you keep enjoying yourself. It sounds like you're really kicking ass out there. So that's awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening, and to Seanna for coming on. You guys can check out her show by visiting www.x929.ca. And please everyone, if you enjoy listening to Faking It, subscribe on iTunes and SoundCloud, and be sure to leave a comment and rating on iTunes. It helps me out hugely. I've also got a big announcement to make next episode, so please tune in. Until next time, you fakers.